Okay, so we're gonna make our mango cucumber salad. So let's swap costumes as well. So this is, as I said, this involves a lot of the ingredients that I've just talked about. There's the top note of lime, the folate in the cucumber, the magnesium in the mango, and then just the anti-inflammatories and antioxidants in the ginger. This is so easy to make, but the other reason I'm sharing this with you is it's so versatile. So you might think, oh, salad's so boring, I don't want to make salad. If you make the salad on a Sunday, and that could be your lunch for the next 4 days. 4 days, you're thinking that's ridiculous. I can't possibly, that's not important. Make a big batch, and then you can mix it up with the protein that you serve it with. It could be diced cold chicken breast. It could be flaked hot smoked salmon or trout. It could be chopped peanuts. It could be diced tofu, etc., etc. But also you can completely change the origin story of the salad as well. So we take this classic mango cucumber salad, and then on the first day, you add some diced avocado, some diced coriander, some chili, and now all of a sudden, you're in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, right? And then you eat that. So you just have just a serving size, and then you zhuzh that up in that. But you still have your base salad in the fridge. Then you take another portion on Tuesday, and you take that to work. But now you've added some of those roasted peanuts, some finely shredded lemongrass, little splash of fish sauce, maybe some diced lime leaf, maybe some shrimp or prawns, and now all of a sudden you're in Southeast Asia. The next day, you add some tomatoes, some fresh basil, and then you're in the Mediterranean, etc., etc. As long as you keep the vinaigrette separate, this salad will keep in your fridge for at least 3 days. And therefore, you can always keep your palate excited rather than, oh, this again, right, for the next day. Because I know we're time poor, but how do we still manage to get all of this, these good nutrients in our system? So this is a threefer. We talked about lots of different, so the reason I chose this recipe is A, I can do it in this environment. I don't need a heating element, that was critical. But also remember, we get the mood boost from the cucumber, the concentration from the mango, the holding off of anxiety from the anti-inflammatory in the ginger. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. Now we always talk about extra virgin olive oil in relation to heart health, and that's very valid, right, that HDL. Do you know HDL is also good for the brain? You really hadn't seen this in the literature until much more recently. Again, it helps neurotransmitters. So this is, again, helping with focus. So go for that extra virgin olive oil. A common question I get is, but can you cook with extra virgin olive? Can you heat it up? Of course you can. Of course you can. Yes, it has a lower smoke point than some other oils, but for the most part, with day-to-day cooking, you can use that. Because I don't know, I live in a flat in London. I don't have room for lots and lots of different bottles of oil. I pretty much just cook with extra virgin olive oil, unless I'm using a dish where the extra virgin olive oil is just not of that place, like Southeast Asian food. Then I'll use veg oil or grapeseed oil or something like that. As you can see my hand, excellent. So what I'm hoping in showing you this recipe is also giving you some tips so that you feel more confident with cooking, right? So let's talk about knives. First thing is, when people say, oh, I don't like to cook, they often are intimidated by knives. And because I don't want to cut myself, you don't want me to cut myself. Look, this is the first time I'm now going to cut myself. But I swear to you, I haven't cut myself in 2 years cooking. This is how. First, this is not how you hold a knife. It's not a samurai sword. It's not a baseball bat or a cricket bat, right? And of course, the other part is this knife can go all over the place, right? If I'm just holding it like this. If my wrist, or if I have really hard food, like I'm trying to cut through a butternut squash, that knife's gonna go all over, I'm gonna cut myself. If you watch a professional chef, they choke up on the knife. So what it means is, I don't hold it like this, I go all the way up here, and I hold the blade. I'm actually holding the blade with my thumb and my forefinger. In this way now, I have complete control. Because of this, that knife is not going like this unless I want it to. And because that knife is always coming straight down, I'm much less likely to cut myself. When we cut ourselves, it's because the knife comes down in an angle we did not wish it to. So this is a way that we control the knife. The other thing, of course, is what's happening. Usually what we cut is the hand that's holding the food while we're cutting, right? And that part of the problem is because we go like this. I'm going to hold the food, and then I go, ow, right? Instead, you make the claw. In this way, we're holding the food with the claw, Right? I tuck my fingers in, and I'm putting the knife up against my knuckles as I'm cooking, and I'm guiding the knife along with the other hand. It's impossible to cut myself this way, right? The other point is, I'm not going to bring the knife up from a great height and bring it down. That's also how you're going to cut yourself. Unless it's a huge piece of food you're cooking, you always keep the tip against the bottom of the cutting board, and you're just rocking when you're cooking. So I'm going like this is how you chop food, typically, and not hurt yourself. Make sense? Okay. So, this is the other great tip. I have 2 bowls. The reason is I'll make the salad in one bowl, and don't worry, you don't have to eat my salad. The professionals have made, at LBS, have made the individual serving sizes. So I'll put the salad in here and have my scrap bowl. Have a scrap bowl. It's ridiculous in kitchens, right? We cook and then we create peel and whatnot, and then we take it and we bring it over to the garbage and we put it there, and we're dropping things, and the dog is running in, right? They come over here, right? Huge mess. Instead, just have your garbage bowl on the counter. Just keep putting your scraps in the garbage bowl. And at the very end, you just take your garbage bowl, you take it casually, confidently, professionally to your bin, poop, and no mess. Okay. So, let's start. So, herbs. How do I chop herbs and have them all be sort of the same size? So I'm using fresh mint. So let's actually start with the mint. I've just torn the leaves off the stem, and I've stacked them, as you can see. Now, what we're going to do is roll the mint leaves into a cylinder. What? And then we're going to cut across the cylinder, and it makes these tiny little ribbons. Or as the professionals say, a chiffonade, which is super fancy for ribbons. Okay, so, and again, so remember what I talked about in terms of the technique. I'm going to guide the knife with my knuckles. See, no way I can cut myself. You can all see that, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And every piece of mint is exactly the same size. Okay? And then I just put it in my bowl. And that's my mint. Ginger. Let's talk ginger. Everyone goes, oh, the paper. To get the skin off the ginger, there's no ginger left by the time I peeled it. Well, the reason for that is you're probably trying to use a peeler or a knife. And absolutely, after you've done that, there's nothing left. You've wasted a lot of the ginger. A couple things about that. One, you can eat the skin, actually. It's very mild and delicate, and you probably don't, it's so delicate, you probably don't even notice it on your tongue. What a lot of people do, they tell me, is that once they peel the ginger, they keep the peel rather than discard it, and they make a light tea from the peel. It's actually very nice. But let's say, no, you say, Adam, I don't like the peel, I want to take off the peel. Don't use a knife. Use a spoon. What are you talking about? Okay, I'm going to blow your minds. This is the much easier way, actually, to take off the peel or the skin, and it doesn't remove any of the ginger because it's so delicate, that sharper edge of the spoon is more than enough to take off the skin. Let me show you, right? All I'm doing is scraping across the ginger. Look at that! That was 2 scrapes! And I'm practically done already, right? Just go around. And like I said, you're not really gonna notice the skin if there's a little bit here and there, right? So I just go scrape, 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 scrape. And I'm not gonna use more than that ginger, and that's it, right? So now I'll just take my my skin and I put it in my garbage bowl. Never confuse your bowls. I've done that before. Right? Actually, I keep the bowl, my like salad bowl and my garbage bowl often on completely opposite sides of the counter. In fact, the first time I demoed this, it was for the London LBS Alumni Club Leaders Conference. And I put the ginger skin in the salad bowl. They never noticed. And then I'm going to use a microplane grater. If you don't have one, buy one. This is your friend. Because because this is fibrous, right? And if I try to cut this, no matter what, I'm going to get fibrous little chunks of ginger. This creates a ginger puree, so it's delicate on the tongue, it's lovely. Do this with garlic as well, right? If you use a press, speaking of garlic, if you have a garlic press, the problem with that is, of course, that squeezes that garlic clove. The solids separate from the water in the garlic clove, so now what you put in your salad or whatever you're cooking with is lots of chunks that are now drier bits of garlic and garlic juice. Instead, make a puree so the solids and the liquids are incorporated, right? They're amalgamated, they're emulsified together, and And that's what the microplane grater does for you. So I'm going to put the microplane grater flat up against it. See? That's my garbage bowl! I was so close to screwing this up. Put that right up against the salad, take my ginger, push down quite hard, and just back and forth, right?
Adam, do you have a special trick for grating the garlic clove? Because, I mean, obviously your fingers are the difficult.
That's a great point. No, it's a great point. I mean, honestly, most of the time, I just am careful, and I don't try to do the whole garlic clove. I temper my ambition. It's okay if a quarter of the garlic clove is not, However, if you have gloves for, like, I don't know, some people have strong gloves, like for shucking oysters and things like that. That will help, prevent you from, but I just say it's, just be careful. And then here's the other thing, if you're gonna use the microplane grater, don't forget to do this last bit because there's a lot that's now trapped underneath the microplane grater. So, right, that's actually half of the puree that was hidden underneath. So now I've got my ginger and my mint. So now we're gonna add, let's do some green onion. So again, this is the same technique with that we talked about before. We're just gonna chop crosswise. If you don't like the white, because you think it's stronger, and it usually is stronger, just don't do that, just use the green, right? Absolutely, you can do that. And then we got it. So, now, here is everyone's nemesis, the mango. Why do I do the mango? Because I talked about how the wonderful magnesium in here, and this is something we should be eating. A couple things about mango. Make sure it's ripe. I wish this were a tiny bit more ripe. The salads that are out there, I don't know what mangoes they were using. The mango is almost pureed out there. That's quite ripe. This is somewhere in between. But you want your mango to be, you should be able to press and actually it gives a little bit, right, with your finger. Also, your knife must be sharp. One thing I omitted when I talked about knife safety is big reason people cut themselves is their knife isn't sharp enough. And so they're muscling it, and then they slip. So always make sure your knives are sharp. And if you want to take it to a professional, a knife shop, they will often do it for you. And if you buy your knives from that shop, they might even sharpen it for free for you. So what do we do? Well, the issue here is first, this is round. So this is going to roll around, and that means danger, danger, right? Because it's going to go all over the place, and that means I'm going to chop. So make flat surface. Ha! Now it's not going to go anywhere. Right? That's simple technique, right? Otherwise, you could see how that was going to be dangerous. Now, there's a very odd pit that's kind of shaped like this in there, and that's a real, bore to try to deal with, right? Super pain, exactly. So the way I'm going to do this, there's more than one way to do it. This is my favorite way. Is you take off the two large petals of the mango in the same way you would like take off the breast of a chicken, actually. So pretend that pit is like the backbone, the breastbone, of the chicken. So I'm going to go right down the center until I feel the pit. Then I'm just going to angle my knife a little bit out, and I'm just going to follow, just like if I was doing this with a chicken, and I'm just going to follow the pit again, feel it against the side of the blade, and just go all the way around, right, like that. And then I have huge, beautiful piece of mango flesh. They don't have to worry about. I've seen people try to skin the mango first. It's really hard, by the way. This is not easy to skin. And if you use a knife, again, all the mango is gone. Now, but how do you get this flesh off of the skin, right? Now it seems that you've even made the problem harder for yourself. Here's the trick. I'm going to score the flesh. So I'm going to just go across, lengthwise and then crosswise. I'm not actually cutting through the skin. When I feel the skin, I stop pushing. So I've scored the flesh. Yeah. Okay, here's the money shot. Bite-sized pieces. And because this mango is ripe enough, I can then put it over my salad bowl, use my spoon, and the pieces just come right off in bite-sized pieces. Look at that. And I haven't wasted anything, right? Yeah. All I have left is the skin of the mango, right? Was everyone like, oh my God, you've changed my life forever?
You should be French.
I have been told. Okay, the lime juice. This is fibrous. it can be quite firm, and therefore if you just cut it in half and try to squeeze, you can break your fingers trying to get the juice out. Yeah, if you have a citrus press, amazing. But let's say you don't. Here's again a little trick. You take this lime and you just abuse it and roll it, pressing down really hard. Right, so now we're breaking down the lime inside. We're releasing the juice from the flesh and the fibers in between the segments. So now, when we cut it in half, this is the, right now we're gonna get all the juice out of it. So I'm just gonna squeeze. If there are seeds, of course, I'm gonna put my hand under it to catch the seeds, but this is a seedless lime, which is great. We're almost done. We're in the home stretch. Cucumber. This, funny enough, the humble cucumber is again ripe for the potential to cut ourselves. So I'm just going to take off the end. Let's just work with half. So again, this is the problem. It rolls. So let's just cut this in half again, and I'll take my 2 halves and cut them in half lengthwise, and then cut side down. Again, flat surfaces, not going anywhere. I'm safe. I will cut these in half again lengthwise. Actually, I'll do thirds if it's a particularly big piece. Yeah. And then I'm just going to turn and crosswise. Bite-sized pieces, pretty much the same size as the mango pieces. Add that. So, you get the idea. There's my mango, there's my cucumber, waha. I've added my ginger. Here's my olive oil, which has been portioned now for me, so a little bit. That's enough. A little bit of salt. Let's talk about salt. You probably have seen lots of ways in which people do salt. Funny enough, there actually is some things to think about. If I just take a pinch of the salt and I go way down here and I go, pinch of salt. The problem is now all the salt is right there, right? And even if I toss it, guarantee you some of those pieces are going to be saltier than others. So we want to come up and salt the food from a height which ensures wide distribution across the bowl. Now, yes, I know there's this famous Turkish butcher who goes, oh, and he does this like big brontosaurus thing, like, salt, and I'm going to be a millionaire. How did that happen? This is absurd, but the principle of cooking from sprinkling your salt from height is sound. So, I have no problem with that. So we just do just a little bit. That's more than, yeah, that's enough. And then that's it. And I'm just going to toss. So you're just gonna make a bigger batch, right? You can use 3 mangoes, 4 mangoes. Probably if I was doing this for 3-4 days, I would probably use 2 mangoes and 1.5 cucumbers, something like that. That would give me 3-4 meals. But I would do supplement, because as I say, I know I want to add a protein. I could play with the herbs. I used mint, but this would work with tarragon. This would work with often a softer herb. You don't want to do hard winter herbs like rosemary and whatnot, but a lot of your soft herbs, your chervil, your flat leaf parsley will work as well, but I find ginger and mint work particularly well together. So, sorry, let me jump back here to, okay. So that is the mango and cucumber salad.